Would you pray with me, please? Most holy and loving God, for this beautiful weather, we thank you. For the event this weekend, we thank you. For the pride that we feel in your love and your grace and your passion for each of us, whoever we are, we thank you and we praise you. We ask right now that you come and be with us. We ask that you be with Will as he plays music this evening, that you be with Keith as he brings prayers, that you be with Sarah as she brings communion, and that you be in this word, that you be a word for each of us, that you touch our hearts and our spirits and draw us once again into your extraordinary presence. Be here for us and with us, we pray in your holy name. Amen. Amen. So, there's this story about a guy who is travelling and decides that he's going to spend the night in the graveyard. So he pitches his tent. He thinks this is a nice quiet spot, no one's going to bother me, and he spends some time reading his book, and then he turns off his flashlight. He's just dropping off to sleep when he hears this tapping noise. So he puts on his flashlight, sits up, and it stops. So he waits for a moment, and then he lies back down, turns off the flashlight. Again. It's tap, 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 tap. So he turns on his torch, sits up, looks around, again, it stops. So he lies back down, turns it off, and he waits. A few minutes pass, and then he hears this tapping again. So he turns on his torch, and this time it continues. So he opens the tent flap, he pulls on his trousers, and he's outside, and he's looking around. What's this noise, and where's it coming from? And he searches around, and he can hear it's coming from one side of the cemetery. So he goes over there, and he looks just behind this tree, and there, kneeling at a tombstone, is this old chap, and he's got a chisel and a hammer, and he's going chick, 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 and he's just chiseling away at the tombstone. So he comes around the corner and he says, "What are you doing? You know, you scared the life out of me doing this time of night." And the guy looks up and says, "They spelt my name wrong." In today's scripture reading, Jesus asked a would-be follower if he can go, is asked by a would-be follower if he can go and bury his father before he commits his life to Jesus. And Jesus says, "Let the dead go bury their dead." Harsh. But perhaps Jesus meant, that the spiritually dead should take care of everyday matters, whilst those that are spiritually aware or spiritually alive should take care of spiritual matters. We have the story of Martha and Mary. Whilst Martha's busying herself, Mary's sat at the feet of Jesus and listening. And then Martha comes in and says, "Tell her to give me a hand." And Jesus says, "No, actually, she's picked the better part because she's taking care of spiritual matters." So Jesus obviously prized spiritual matters very highly. So maybe that was the reason. Or maybe the man's father wasn't really dead. Maybe the man's father was just ill and he didn't want to leave while his father was ill, so he wanted to wait. That still sounds a bit harsh. Maybe, I think this is probably more likely, maybe what the guy's saying is, right now, I'm not terribly well off, but if you wait till my father's died, I'll have an inheritance, I'll have money, and then if things don't work out with you, if we don't get enough money whilst we're wandering around, then at least I'll be able to pay the way and I'll have enough money to be able to do things. So if you wait till my father's dead, wait till I buried him, I'll have the money, and then I can follow you because I'll have the money to take care of things. Maybe that's what he's saying. And Jesus is saying, no, actually, you know what? You need to trust in God and you need to follow where God is leading you. Maybe he's not being serious. Maybe he's just pointing out how urgent his message is. Can't afford to take the day off, lads. There's preaching and healing to be done. And this guy says, "Seriously, can't I go and bury my father?" And Jesus goes, "Oh, he's dead. I'm so sorry. Is there something I can do? Let's go and have a look." Maybe he just wasn't being serious. Or perhaps we're missing the obvious. The reason why Jesus said that the dead should bury the dead was because in first century Palestine there was an unspeakable secret, a plague of such horror that even most of the history books blot it out. Maybe in the first century, the real problem was zombies. This is Fred, the zombie. Let's pop him there. There we go. And I think that if you watch the movies, which are kind of historical accounts, you get a feeling for kind of what might have been going on. First of all, we've got the mummy. Even in ancient Egypt, the dead kept coming back. They had to put them in pyramids, didn't they, to keep them safe. And then, have you seen the movie Zombie versus Gladiators? I mean, even Rome had problems with zombies. I think this is probably why they had lions eat people, because if you can't kill them, just bring in big cats that eat them, problem solved. So that's kind of their way of dealing with zombies. Or maybe, if you've seen the film Night of the Dead, as in Knights of the Round Table, the Black Plague of the Middle Ages was actually a zombie plague. And of course, in the end, we got rid of most of them by rounding them up in London, having a big fire in 1666, which kind of burnt them all and got rid of all the, plague. So maybe that was, or there is a film about the 1700s called Egad Zombies, which reminds us there was still a problem in the 1700s. And then there's the film Abraham Lincoln versus Zombies, which shows that even in the colonies, zombies were a problem. The latest one, Pride and Prejudice and Zombies. If you haven't seen that, then that tells you kind of the problem. The Diary of Anne Frank of the Dead reminds us of the Nazi zombies. And then Poultrygeist, Night of the Chicken Dead, shows us that even chickens are not safe. And then there's my favourite here, Scooby-Doo, my favourite hero, who has to battle a great evil in Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island. So I think that perhaps zombies were the big problem. Now, you think I'm joking. Let me give you a few scriptures here. Mark 5, 1-5. They came to the other side of the sea, to the country of the Gerasenes, and when he stepped out of the boat, immediately a man out of the tombs with an unclean spirit met him. He lived amongst the tombs, and no one could restrain him anymore, even with a chain, for he'd often been restrained with shackles and chains. But the chains were wrenched apart, and the shackles he broke in pieces, and no one had the strength to subdue him. Night and day amongst the tombs and on the mountains, he was always howling and bruising himself with stones. What was he howling? He was obviously howling, moch, 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 which is Hebrew for brains. Brains. And I had to look that up. So maybe that was the problem. Okay, maybe the last bit I made up, but Zechariah 14:12. And this shall be the plague wherein the Lord shall smite all the people that have fought against Jerusalem. Their flesh shall consume while they stand on their feet, and their eyes shall consume away in their holes, and their tongues shall be consumed in their mouths. Zombies! Zombies, all of them. Isaiah 26:19-20. Your dead shall live, their corpses shall rise, O dwellers in the dust. The earth will give birth to those long dead. Come, my people, enter your chambers. Shut your doors behind you. Hide yourselves for a little while until the wrath is past. What is the wrath? Zombies. Zombies. Matthew 27:51-53. At this moment, the curtain of the temple was torn in two from top to bottom. The earth shook, the rocks were split, the tombs also were opened, and many bodies of the saints who had fallen asleep were raised. And after his resurrection, they came out of the tombs and entered the holy city and appeared to many, obviously going, more, more, more. And then Revelation 9:6. And in those days, people will seek death, but they will not find it. They will long to die, but death will flee from them. So what should a Christian do in the face of a zombie apocalypse? Well, actually, there are a number of Christian sites out there which will tell you what to do. One site says, it starts with the question, should you convert zombies to Christianity, or do you grab Uncle Barney's shotgun and fill them full of holes? And then it goes on to use some scriptures and things, and it says, it's okay to blow them apart as long as you're sure they're already dead. If you make a mistake, though, you're going to hell. So it's a bit of a kind of, a bit of a tough call to make. The amount of stuff on this when you search is just extraordinary. But I suppose the $60 million question is this: are there really zombies? And the answer is yes. Although not the kind you see in movies. As a rule, I hate to disappoint you here, but zombies don't eat brains, and neither is it a virus that gets transmitted once you're bitten. Zombies were first scientifically documented in Haiti in the 1930s, and I've read it's a black magic voodoo technique where someone is given the poison of a pufferfish, which then simulates death. The person is then certified dead, they're laid to rest, and in Haiti, they do so in a mausoleum or an above-ground grave in these kind of metal concrete boxes. So the following day, the witch doctor goes along, brings them out, revives them, gives them an antidote with some hallucinogens and other psychotropic drugs, and the person revives, but is made to believe that they are dead. So they're given a psychotropic drug cocktail in their food every day, and it's made from frog skin, spider venom, and a number of really nasty bits and pieces. And the witch doctor creates the illusion for them that they are dead. Of course, they're not really dead, but if you think you're dead, then the world is a very different place than if you think you're alive. So zombies are people who are controlled by others because they believe without question what they're told. The drugs create this constant psychotropic dream state, which is really useful to the witch doctor because you don't question things if you think that you're dreaming, which is the state that they're in. Now, sometimes things go wrong and people become brain damaged and then die. And then sometimes people wander off, don't return to the witch doctor, the drugs wear off, they remember who they are, and then the witch doctor gets prosecuted because they end up going home. And there are people who have been documented as being tried for creating zombies. And in fact, there was a law passed in 1883 which recognized the practice and considered it the same as murder. And it's a really interesting set of laws in Haitian law. Now, when you think about it, it's quite easy to be a zombie and not even know it. Because if we believe something without question, then we're acting like a zombie. If we never question our assumptions, then maybe we're a zombie. If we let someone else make all our decisions for us in some way, tell us who we are, then perhaps we're a zombie. And I think it's a lot more common than we might think. And I think that there are times when we all have a little zombie in us. Not that one, but you know. You know, when I first came to... Let's move this. When I first came to MCC, Tim will tell you this is going back a bit, I really didn't see the point of Pride. All those people strutting their stuff, wearing costumes that they'd never wear normally day to day. I mean, if you look at the news, they always capture the most outrageous costumes, the campest men, the butchest women. And I remember saying, that's not what gay is. That gives us a bad reputation. I wanted people to think that I was a good person. And these people that I saw on TV and in the parade were all perverts. And I didn't want anyone to think that that was me. Or, oh, of course, I mean, nobody actually knew I was a gay man, but still. And if someone found out that I was gay after seeing a Pride parade on TV, then they might think that I was outrageous. Or they might think that I was queer. Or they might think that I was promiscuous. Now, as it happens, I was, but I didn't want anybody to think that. It's all very shameful. It doesn't do any good. And then one day, I got it. One day, the penny dropped. Because the religion that I'd grown up with had told me that this was outrageous, an abomination, that this was wrong. I'd been taught that it was shameful to be gay. And to be honest, I never questioned it. Talk about internalized homophobia. I mean, that was me walking, talking, breathing. But when I sat and thought about it, what I really thought, I realized that actually I didn't agree. I didn't believe it was outrageous, or shameful, or wrong. In fact, I thought it was wonderful, amazing, and a gift from God. And I love seeing strong women in 501s and a t-shirt. I love seeing the lipstick girls in flowery dresses. I love seeing camp men strut their stuff, and I love fit men in G-strings. I love leather and lace. I love trans, FTM, MTF, and every other expression of gender. I love drag, and I love a bit of S&M. And when I realized that, then I started to see the face of God in each and every one. And how amazing and wonderful was that? I'm just like every other person walking in the parade. From the rent boy who's pole dancing to the choir member singing their heart out. From the woman on a Harley to the girls with their children walking with families together. Every single one of them, I'm no different, because I dare to say that I refuse to be anybody else's zombie. I refuse to be fed anybody else's nonsense. I'm very much alive, and I refuse to play dead. I can make my own mind up. I'm not ashamed or afraid. In fact, I'm proud, very proud. And I get it now. So maybe Jesus didn't say, I have come to save the zombies. But he did say, I've been sent to proclaim freedom from the prisoners and recovery of sight for the blind, to set the oppressed free. Which sounds very much like the same thing to me, actually. Jesus sets us free to see the glory of an extraordinarily diverse creation and to be proud of what God has made. And one of my favourite saints, Saint Rita Mae Brown, said, I think gay people are like blondes. There's fewer of them, but they have more fun. She also said, if you can't raise consciousness, then at least raise hell. Plato said, we can easily forgive a child who is afraid of the dark. The real tragedy of life is when adults are afraid of the light. Sometimes I think that zombies are simply people who've been taught to be afraid of their own light. Question is there a part of me that's still afraid of my own light? Is there still a bit of zombie in me? Am I a prisoner of something? Am I blind to something? Do I hang on to some belief that oppresses me? Do I believe that I have to be something that I'm not? Do I believe that others should be something that they're not too? Do I think that they should dress differently or be different? Am I worried that someone might see who I really am? And does that scare me? And what about here at the church? You know, this can be really subtle. Do I believe that in order to take communion, I should be different in some way? Better, more spiritual? Do I believe that to take part in worship I should be more godly, more perfect, have more faith? Do I believe that God will like me more, or love me more, or appreciate me more if I can do more, be different, or just be better in some way? Do I believe what someone says just because they quote the Bible with some authority? If so, have a look at those Christian groups that quote the scriptures I used earlier and really and truly believe not just that the end of the world is coming, but there's going to be a zombie apocalypse. I kid you not, look it up. I don't know what percentage of these groups are officially supporting Trump to be president, but when you've read a few of their blogs, American politics does seem to make a little bit more sense. The gospel that Jesus brought asks us to be proud, to stand free, to see the world for what it is, and to see ourselves the way that Jesus sees us. We're asked not to settle for a half-life, refuse to be a zombie, live a full life, your life, and be proud of it all. Amen.
Amen.